So it's still like 5 black and white.
Yeah, 5 or 6. I didn't count that. I didn't count that. Yeah, but I'm not even looking because I just trying to figure out, make some, get some.
See, we have all those great charts, and the Mishnah is like, so clear. How could anything go wrong?
Okay. I hope that is clearer to you than it is to me. Okay. Okay, good. Okay. So the first Gemara we had yesterday at Holy Show about get all the cases about one yavam and another yavam. The charts will be coming on again. There's yesterday's charts, no new charts for today, but the same idea we had yesterday about either one man, one yavam, one yavama, and he did 2 things to her. The 4 factors flowing around are mamar and get and chalitza and yibum, and chalitza and yibum are the Raisa ones, and get and mamar are the drabanan factors. And also we spoke about 1 yavam and 2 yavamos, or 1 yavam and 2 yavamin, and also to one of the women or one of the men did mamar, get, chalitza, yibum, and the second one got something else, and that was the Gemara's discussion. The first Gemara is very much the yesod of the whole issue. Like get and yibum, get and mamar, it really is nothing. The whole thing is as far as the yavama goes, doesn't have any relevance. Get is only by marriage, and kiddushin is only by a woman that's not a yavama. And this whole invention over here is drabanan. So the Gemara wants to know, why did they make such a drabanan? So the Gemara starts. The Gemara does go to the beginning of the Mishnah, where Rav Gamliel said, that after the first one that was treated with the get or mamar, the second one doesn't affect anything. The second woman, this is talking about 2 different women, 2 different men. So the second act doesn't take any effect since the first one was already taken. That was get and get, mama. But everybody does agree that a get, the Gemara didn't have to be so fancy to ask the first question, I will get echad v'yavama or mamar echad v'yavama mani. The simple way the Gemara is asking is just that a get does affect the issue of the yibum over here. That means that when a person gives a get, he's not supposed to do yibum anymore. And really nothing ever happened. Why do we make that a get makes that you're not allowed to do yibum? If it would have been chalitza, and then, so we say, chibin shalabana shub lo yivna, but a get doesn't really accomplish anything. And also, mama echad, that the din is that mama does make an effect. That means that if there are 2 women, so he gave mama to one, now we don't let him to be miyabim the other one. Why not? Mama is really nothing. It's really a garnish. He didn't do anything. So even though he gave mama to one, he should be able to be miyabim the other one. So the Gemara is really asking, in essence, why did the Rabbanan invent this whole thing about get and mama that it takes any kind of an effect in the issue of yibum? The more answer, it's not the more starts. My time, Rabbanan get yivama mahani. Why did they say that get affects yibum? That means that the get is going to make that you're not allowed to do yibum after that. The more answer is misham damani ba'alma, because there is such a thing as a get. Ba'alma, I mean, there's such a thing in the world. It means not by yibum. In a regular case of marriage, so there is such a thing as a get. And yamrit lo mahani, if you're going to say that the get doesn't affect anything over here by the case of a yavama, people are going to say get lo tzia, v'chalitza lo tzia. Get, usually accomplishes to be able to terminate the marriage, and chalitza also terminates the yibum. When they get lo mahani, chalitza nami lo mahani, they're going to think that if the get doesn't stop, that you could do yibum afterwards. So they're going to think that chalitza also doesn't make that you could stop you from doing yibum afterwards. I'll think that even though I did chalitza, I still could do yibum, and that's not true, because there's a din chivin shalabana shivlo yivna. Once he rejected with a real rejection of doing chalitza, he's not allowed to do yibum anymore, and he'd make that mistake. If he would see a case history happened that someone gave a get and then he still did yibum, he would think that there's no such halacha that you're not allowed, just because you rejected that you're not allowed to do yibum. So he would think that after he did chalitza, either to the same woman or to a different woman, he still could have a choice of doing yibum. He wouldn't realize chivin shalabana shivlo yivna. So because of the similarity of chalitza to a get, they said that a get also affects, and once you gave a get, you're also not allowed to do yibum. That's, I think, simple enough. The next question. My time, Amar Rabbanan, Mamar b'Yivama Mahani. How come the Rabbanan said that Mamar affects anything by Yibam? It's really, again, Mamar is Kedushin, and it doesn't have any effect as far as Yibam goes. And here we say that once he did Mamar to one of the women, he's not allowed to do Yibam to the other one. Why not? It's really nothing. The answer is Mishum de Mahani Ba'alma, because there's such a thing as a marriage, Kedushin. Here the Gemara says, just if anybody wants to find out what is Mama, what does it tell us what Mama is? Here it says that Mahani Ba'alma is something which does usually work. It means it's Kedushin. And the Rambam says it's a regular Kedushin. Then to weigh them, he gives her money or star, so usually it's such a thing in the world as Kedushin. And Amrit Lo Mahani, if you're going to say that over here, the Mama, the Kedushin doesn't take any kind of effect. Amri, people will say, Mama liknos or Bia liknos. Mama is a way of acquiring a woman, Bia is a way of acquiring a woman. Here, Yibum, with the Ma'amra Lo Mahani, Bia Nami Lo Mahani. The same way that Mama doesn't stop me from taking the other wife. If he took two women, two yevamos, and he did Mama to one, and now we're going to tell him that he could marry the other one. He's going to think also that even though he did Bia with one of them, he's also allowed to take the other one also. He's not going to know the din that you're not allowed to take two yevamim. So because of the confusion that he would say that Kedushin is as good as Yibum, marriage, so if you're going to say that after he did Mamar to one of them, he may marry the other one, so he's going to think that after he did Yibum to one of them, he's also allowed to be the other one, and it's not true. He might do Bia, which means he's going to marry one, then marry the other one, that you're not allowed to do, because I'm not only allowed to marry one. So also, good. Then the Gemara goes on to ask about the case of the Bia Psula, and after that about a Chalitza Psula. Here's Bia Psula, and here's the case of a Chalitza Psula. Bia Psula doesn't really mean possible, but it means that it was a Bia which was done after something which doesn't make the Yibum to be a great Yibum. As if it would have been, he gave a get. He gave a get, and then he did Yibum, so we say the Yibum was not such a quality Yibum. And therefore, Yeshach Re'aklum. Yeshach Re'aklum means that it's not so strong Yibum, and if something takes place afterwards, like first of all, we said that he also has to have chalitza afterwards. Let's say there was a case, one of the cases, I'll try to get the chart on over here. 1 second, I have to go back a second in order to put this on. Let's try this one, and then I have to do this one. Okay. Let's say this case, which one is a chalitza psula here? This is a bia psula. This case, to the same woman, he did a get, and then he is miyabam her. So we say that it's not. This is called the bia psula. The fact that it was after a get. So even though with the rice, it's nothing. Right? With the rice, the get is nothing. But since he gave a get, and then that's a way of rejecting, and then he's going to do a bia. It's called a bia psula. And yesh achra means that he has to do chalitza afterwards. Also, in the case of two women, also you have over here a case of a bia psula. Here's a case of a bia psula. There were two women, and to one he did maimar, to one he was boel. So it's called a bia psula because he did maimar to the other woman. And we say that first of all, we don't allow it to stay, and the point is going to be also that if there will be a third woman, this we didn't talk about too much yesterday, but it does come up in the Gemara that the bia psula is not considered that it's a closed case. Now, usually after you do yibum, it's all over. And if he does something like it's after at the bottom of the page here, here's a case where he had bia, and then he did something to somebody else, to the other woman, the other wife. Nothing takes effect. This is all because it was a bia that was first, bia betchila. But if there'd be a bia basop, that he did a bia after he did something else, he did mamar and then bia, or he did a get and then bia. So then, if there'd be a third woman, a third wife, a third yevama, and he would do something to her, one of these things, mama, get, so then it also would take effect. It would be that something is there still open that he's able to take effect. So that's the Gemara's kasha of a bia psula. How come yeshach re'aklum? The truth is that this seems to be the machlokes about Nehemiah and the Rabbanan at the end of the Mishnah about a bia psula that Nehemiah said achas bila v'achas chalitza ein achrei klum, even if it was be'emsa b'sof. The Rabbanan say that that even though ein acha chalitza klum, but bia, how does it go over here? Where do Rabbanan talk? Ein acha chalitza klum, but bia is yesh achrei klum. So l'chora, the Gemara is the Gemara that says how can bia psula yesh achrei klum is going according to Rabbanan of Nehemiah. I don't see that the Gemara makes mention of Nehemiah over here, but it seems to be that the Gemara is asking the Rabbanan this question where it says here, how come the Rabbanan said bia psula yesh achrei klum? This is the Rabbanan of Nehemiah. That even if there was a bia psula, yesh achrei klum, a regular bia kshera means a bia that was done first, but chila. So then anything done to any other wife afterwards doesn't take any effect. But a bia, which was not a kosher bia, means it was done after something else was done to a different wife, or gave a get first. So then it's not considered a strong bia and bia yibum. And afterwards, if she does something to any of the wives, it does take effect. So how come? Amri, they said, there are two kinds of bia psula. One is a bia after get. That's one kind of a bia psula. There's also going to be, maybe to paste highlight it a little bit. There's going to be here a bia achar get. That's one kind of a bia psula. And there's also going to be bia achar maima. Means that there were two wives, and he did mama to one and then bia to the other one. Those are the two examples of a bia psula. So the Gemara says the reason why they had to say that it's not a full yibum is because there's a room for a gzeira over here. Amri, the answer is bia achar geti. If the reason why it's a bia psula is because it was after a get, gzeira bia achar get mishum bia achar chalitza. If you're going to say that bia after the get is a full bia, it's a full yibum, people will not differentiate between a bia achar get and a bia achar chalitza. And what's the din of a bia achar chalitza? The tizgilei, the yam tizgilei beget asilamem with the kanya bia achar get alma met mal yusahi asilamem balachatchila achar chalitza. The Rashi seems to be talking about not only if it affects the woman, that's the third woman, but maybe the issue is going to be also about if you let them stay married, if they need a chalitza, it's good the way it is. If you're going to say that a bia achar get einach klum, you're going to say that a bia achar chalitza also einach klum. And really, once there was a chalitza, and then he did a yibum, that yibum was not a yibum. I'm leaving it crazy. There's not a case of a bia psula, which was a bia achar mama, that he did mama to one, then bia to the other one. The reason why we have to say that it's not a full yibum is there bia achar mama, mishum bia achar bia. If there would be two women that he did not only mama, he did bia. Since we said that mama is similar to bia, so we're gonna confuse mama with bia, and we're gonna say that bia achar bia also. That the second one is he might think he's allowed to do the second yibum. And then the question is about chalitza psula. My tamer rabban hai chalitza psula einach klum, which everybody agrees to. Everybody agrees that a chalitza psula, even though it was a chalitza after something, means something was done first. It was done something to one wife, and then there was a chalitza to the other one. It's a chalitza psula. Still einach klum. Amri over there's no reason to be gozer. My ligza. Why should he have any gzeira? There's nothing to be worried about. Nigza chalitza achar get mishum chalitza achar chalitza. What are you scared of? That they're going to think that chalitza achar chalitza, that just like chalitza after a get, so also the chalitza after chalitza, also you're allowed to be cholitz after chalitza. Kol kihani tachlutz v'tezel. What's the problem? To do chalitza after chalitza is no problem. There's no chashash. By the case of the bia over there was a chashash about bia achar chalitza. Someone will think that after chalitza you're allowed to do bia. After bia of one, you're allowed to do bia to the other one. But by chalitza achar chalitza, there's no chashash. Kol kihani tachlutz v'tezel. Let them do chalitza again and again. Doesn't not know a berry being done. Ligza chalitza achar maima mishum chalitza achar bia. And the case of chalitza psula would also be a chalitza after marma to one. So you'll do chalitza to the other one. That's also called the chalitza psula. Mishum chalitza achar bia. Chalitza psula that he did marma and then to one and chalitza to the other one. There's a case of the two cases of chalitza psula would be a chalitza after mama or a chalitza after get. Those are the two cases of a chalitza psula. So by chalitza after the get, so he's going to think the chalitza achar chalitza that he's allowed to do chalitza achar chalitza, so let him do chalitza achar get achar mama. The reason why there's no chash over there is because even in the case that we say that it's a chalitza einach chalitza klum, but we do say that the one who got mama does need a get. We don't let the one who got mama it does go free. We say that the one who got mama does have to get a get. So if someone's gonna do bia and then chalitza, he's gonna think that the chalitza after bia also we're also gonna say that the balas bia does need a get. So it's not we're putting anybody in danger by saying that yesh chalitza achar marma that and then ein tzarich klum, because the case of bia after chalitza also we're gonna say chalitza after bia, also we're going to say that balas she would need a get. That's the end of those 4 points. As much as I got it, I didn't get it too much. But the first question was, why did the Rabbanan invent b'chal that the get should affect anything by yibum? Second one was, how come the Rabbanan invented that yibum, that mama should be something? And then about a bia psula, there is a gzera, and by a chalitza psula, there's no gzera. The Gemara now goes back to the beginning of the parak that it says, Amram Gamliel, ein get achaget, ein mama chamayma. Just to put that on the screen for a second. This case, here's a case of get achaget. There were 2 women, starting a new Gemara now. There are 2 women, 2 yevamos. He gave a get to both of them. So the halacha surely is that he has to give chalitza. One chalitza is good. One chalitza is good for both. The Gemara is going to talk about this a little bit later, but one chalitza is good for both. But he can't do yibum anymore. That's the halacha that once he gave a get, he can't do yibum anymore, and you have to do a chalitza. But what we didn't talk about too much is that there's machlokes Rav Gamliel and Rabbanan. The second one we got to get, do we look at it? Does it take any kind of effect? Means now is he usher to marry her relatives? If it only be the first one, so then he did chalitza to the first one. Let's say he give chalitza to the first one. So the din is that the other co-wife's relatives don't become usher. She becomes a chalutza, and a chos chalutza so is usher. But the other tzara that has relatives, of course he can marry the other co-wife, but he could marry her relatives. But if you say that the get takes effect, the second get also, we don't look at it like it didn't take effect. He gave a get to her, so then he wouldn't be allowed to marry her relatives either. That's the machlokas in the Mishnah. That is the machlokas in the Mishnah. That yesh get achaget or ain't get achaget. The Tanna Kama says yesh get achaget. That means that I'm sorry, not Rav Gamliel is the first time I mentioned. He says ain't get achaget. That means that the second get is as if it doesn't exist, as if he didn't do anything. So what are we going to tell him to do? Give chalitza to the first one. You can't do even anymore. You gave a get to the first one. You have to give chalitza to the first one, and now you could you could marry the relatives of the second one. The Rabbanan say that the get that he gave yesh get achaget, it also takes effect, and he has to give chalitza to one of them. Doesn't make a difference to which one, because he's not allowed to marry either one of them, the relatives of either one of them, because they're both considered a gmusha. That's the case of get achaget. The case of mama chamayim was this case in the beginning that he had two yevamos, there were 2 co-wives, and he did marry to both of them. So here the Rabbanan say yesh mama chamayim, and therefore again he can't do yibum to any one of them, because since he did marmor to both of them, so he can't do yibum to any one of them now, because each one's he gave marmor to the other one. So Rabbanan say give a get to both of them and give chalitza to one of them. But Rabbi Gamliel says ein ma chamayim, means that the second marmor that he did doesn't take effect at all. It's true that the Gemara is going to ask how come you can't do yibum to the first one. If you look at the Gemara is going to ask this question soon, that if you say that the second marmor doesn't count, so it's if he just gave marmor to the first one, so let him do it b'miyavim. We'll get to that. But the Gemara here, Rabbi Gamliel says the second marmor is erased as if there was no second marmor, and give a get to the first one. You don't have to give a get to the second one, and give chalitza. You have to give a chalitza. Give chalitza to the first one. Rabbi Gamliel will say give a get and chalitza to the first one, and the second one is if you didn't do anything. That's the machlokas Rabbi Gamliel and in these 2 points. Ein get achaget, ein mamar chamam. That was the Mishnah. So the Gemara wants to know what's the pshat. What is the pshat in Rabbi Gamliel? Why does he say ein get achaget? Why does he say ein mamar chamam? Just to give a little hint that the reason why the Gemara is not so, the Gemara is trying to figure out Rabbi Gamliel is because since he says ein mamar chamam, ein get achaget, but it would be mashma that yesh get achamamar and yesh mamar yesh mamar achar get, means he doesn't say that whatever you did first, just like by chalitza and yibum, but if you did chalitza first, the second thing is nothing. You did bia first, the second thing is nothing. By mamar and get, Gamliel is not so strong to say ein achamamar klum, ein achaget klum. He just says ein mamar achamamar, ein get achaget. But he also would hold that the get after mamar is considered that it's a get. Means he would be also to the relatives of the second one, and also yesh mamar achaget. That also here in the case of yesh mamar achaget, he's not going to say that the second one doesn't take effect. He also agrees the second one takes effect, and she needs to get. So the fact that's why Rabbi Gamliel needs some explanation. By mamar and mamar achamamar ain't get achaget. But you don't just say that the first one is so strong that it took effect and the second one can't take effect, because you see that yesh mamar achaget, yesh get achamamar. That's what needs explanation. So the Gemara starts. Amar Rava, my time, top of the page, my time with Rabbi Gamliel. The answer is the Masafka get idachi ilo dachi, mamar ikani ilo kani. He doesn't know. He doesn't know if get or mama are able to take the full effect in a way that the second thing that's done to the second wife is non-effective. If it would have been fully effective, then the second one wouldn't take effect at all. But he's not sure. Get idachi ilo dachi. So ikama dachi, basra ma'aket my kovid. Ikama lo dachi, basra nami lo dachi. By mama the same thing. Mama ikani ilo kani. Ikama kani basra my kovid. Ikama lo kani, basra nami lo kani. Just see that inside. He doesn't know. Gamliel's not saying I know with a definite decision that the mimer takes effect in a way that nothing else can happen afterwards. It's not like Yibum and Chalitza that it takes full effect. I'm not sure. Maybe yes, maybe not. If it takes effect, it takes full effect, and the second one is like nothing. If it doesn't take effect, so then the second one is still room to take effect. But the point that Rabbi Gamliel says, I don't know. I'm a supik. I don't know. I don't know if mimer takes effect. I don't know if get takes effect. So when you're talking about two mimer, two of the identical thing, mimer and mimer, so I don't know. If the first one takes effect, the second one doesn't take effect. If the first one does not take effect, the second one also does not take effect because it's the same thing. He did mimer. If you say mimer does not take effect, mimer is not kona. So then if the mimer is kona, then the first one was kona and there's no room for the second one to come anymore. So the second one is not going to be kona. If the first one is not kona, the second one is also the same strength, also not kona. By get also the same thing. He's not sure if the same way Chalitza pushes away and it's all over. So he's not sure if get also pushes away and it's all over. If it does, so then if the first get was a get to push it away, the second one, so then the second one is nothing. If the first one did not succeed in pushing away, then the second one is just as strong. And it's also not going to be able to push away. So therefore, he's not concerned with the second one. He's not concerned with the second one because manavshach is nothing that the second one could do worse after the first one came. Either the first one is finished and it's over, or the first one didn't do anything, the second one also didn't do anything. In parent, that's what the Gemara says. We read the Gemara. The Gemara says, by gerach haget, if the first one pushes away, the second one didn't do anything anymore. If the second one doesn't push, first one doesn't push away, the second one also doesn't push away. And by mamra, if the first one is kona, the second one is already nothing to do it. It's already she's taken already. And if the first one is not kona, the second one is also not kona. I'm just going to speak out. Why does the Gemara gain with this? That when you have mamra haget, get the mamar, so then he is concerned because maybe mamra is not kona and get is kona. So that's why even though he did mamar and then get, he's still concerned with the get because maybe the mamar was not kona and the get is going to take effect not to be kona, to be docha. In the case of get achamamar, where's that over mamar achaget, then maybe the get is not pushing away and then the mamar is going to be kona. That's how Rav explains Ram Gamliel. How come ein mamar achamamar, ein get achaget, but yesh get achamamar and yesh mamar achaget? That was Rav's explanation. The words that I think are pretty clear. Get, he's not sure, he's misafkala. He doesn't know if get is docha or not. He doesn't know if mamar is kona or not. He doesn't know if get is docha or not. But manavshach, if the first one is docha, the second one is not doing anything. If the first one is not docha, the second one is also not docha. And by mamar, he doesn't know if it's kona or not. If the first one was kona, the second one is not doing anything. If the first one is not kona, the second one also is not kona. That was Rabbi's pshat. Abaya is a kasha from a brisa. I guess it's a brisa. It says here, Chav Zion. So it seems to be a brisa. That's what we just said. That even though he says "Ein gerach haget, ein mamar chamayma," but mamar and get chamayma he is concerned with. That's what we just said. That was part of Rabba's reason to have to explain that they both of them are fakis, but not that one suffix is telling the other. It could be mamar yes and get not. It could be get yes yet and mamar not. But also the brisa continues to say over here, the get achabio maimar, or mamar achabio beget. So here, Rashi says it's talking about three women. If there be three women, three yevamos, and the order is the wording is a little bit, I think, a chiddush what the words mean. This words of get achabiyah mama means that a get after a bia after a mama means don't think that bia was first. I thought bia was first. The Gemara doesn't read. It means this case was if there be a mama to the first one, a bia to the second one, and a get to the third one. Does that get take effect? Here it says Rav Gamliel thinks that the get, yes, he's choshesh yet that the get takes effect. It means you had three women. He did marmor to the first, bia to the second, and a get to the third. Or this other case here, which is going to be mama after bia get. A get was first, bia was second, mama was third. Means either you have, maybe I'll try to, maybe this will help a little bit. I'm not sure which, let's try over here, a yellow one. Here you had, what does this mean? Bia and Maima or Bia and Get, which you have to remember that it means the Mama was first and then the Bia. The Get was first, then the Bia. And it says that the third one that comes into the picture, the Get, which came after the Bia, which came after the Maima, or the Maima, which came after the Bia, which came after the Get, does take effect. We are worried about this Get, which came after the Bia and the Maima, and this Maima, which came after the Bia and the Get, that it maybe does take effect. So to speak out the Gemara's question before we see it in the words, is that if the Maima, maybe it's going completely. That's what he's saying. The Maima might be going completely, maybe not. The Get maybe it's going completely, maybe not. So when it's against the Maima against the Maima, so you have a manavshach. The Get against the Get against the Get, you have a manavshach. But the Maima against the Get against the Get against the Maima, so you don't know which one. But now the Gemara is saying, but let's put it against with a Bia. There are three women over here. And after the Maima, there was a Bia. After the Get, there was a Bia. So the Gemara is asking them, one of them takes effect. Let's say this case over here. A Get after Bia and Maima. So you're not sure about Maima. You don't sure. Maybe, but on the side that, but if it's not, if the Maima is not, the Bia took place. The Bia did take effect. The Get that comes after is after one of these two. One of them should be good. In case of the case of the Maima, which came after the Bia and the Get, so you're not sure it pushes away or not. If it doesn't, then it is there. Much is not because on the side that it is, and then the Get that which came after shouldn't take effect. What are you choshes that the Maima is not taking effect? So then the Bia took effect. Also, in the case where the Bia and the Get, you had a Get before. Is a suffix. If the Maima and the Get took effect, the heavy kibia, the lachatchila, the tikni, on the side that the Maima is nothing, or the Get is nothing. So then the Bia, which came afterwards, did take effect, and therefore the Get afterwards should be nothing, the Maima afterwards should be nothing. Because the Get is nothing. So then the Bia, which came after that, should be a something. It should be the Bia lachatchila, and then he shouldn't be concerned on the Get or the Maima after that. That was Abai's Kasha and Rava. So Abai's going to learn a different shot than Rabbi Gamliel. Just to go out there, the chart is saying again, let's say the Maima, what did Rava say? Rava said, I'm not, maybe Maima's Kona. If it's Kona, then the second one is not Kona. If it's not Kona, the second one's also not Kona. And Get the same thing. I don't know if it's Kona or not. And by Maima and Get and Maima is because I don't know, maybe one is Kona, one is not. That was Rava's shot. Abai says everything was about that. No sfekis over here. Everything is about that. But as much as like you talk about I'm not sure on electricity, but you have a positive charge and a negative charge, and they could neutralize, they balance out, and not one is not stronger than the other one. So the reason why he says that ein Maimar Maimar is because the Maimar is Kona, not a suffix, not like Rabbi said a suffix. The Maimar is Kona, and then the second one is not Kona, if it's also a Maimar. The Get is Docha, and the second one is not, is very Nitcha ready, since Get was Docha. But when you have a Maimar and a Get and Maimar, so it's opposite charges. The Maimar is Kona a certain amount, but the Get is though much as as strong in the opposite direction as much as the Maimar was. Therefore, he says that the Get also, the second one also takes effect, is going in the opposite direction. And if you had first the Get and then a Maimar, the Get is Docha, but the Maimar is Kona as much as the Get was Docha. That's why Gamliel, even though he says Maimar ain't Get, but and now to answer the Gemara's question, according to how is Abai going to be better by the case of the Get that came after the Bia and the Maimar, or the Maimar that came after the Bia and the Get, because he's going to say, the Gemara is going to say that even though the something, but it's not as much as a Bia, and even though the Get is a something, but it's not as much as a Bia. The words, the shot that I just said, I don't know if it goes into the words so well. That was the understanding I got. I don't see it in the words. Maybe the shot is altogether different. but let's try to get the pshat. Elam Rabaya. Pshita lay. This is Abaya's pshat different than Rava. Pshita lay the Gamliel begeta dachi mamad dekani. Not like Rava said that it's a suffix. Not that it's a suffix. Get is definitely docha. Mamar is definitely kona. Miu Amar Rabbanan hayivama b'chad tzad mahani ba get b'chad tzad mahani ba mamar. There's a charge going in one way that the get is pushing away, and one charge that the mamar is being kona. So get lo dachi lekama. The reason why ain't get is because the first one pushed away, and therefore the second one is not here anymore. Mama lo kani lekama. Not because of a suffix, but a dabadai that the first mama takes is kona, and therefore the second one there's no more reason no room to be kona anymore. Get mama get. How come over there both of them take effect? One is pushing away, one is acquiring. So therefore they counter each other and they balance out. Both of them have a koah. The next two lines here, I didn't make sense. I didn't get shot on it. Rabbanan, the Gemara continues to. It's still in the middle of the sentence. You have to explain about the case of the mamar and then be and then get, or get and be and then mamar. We still have to explain this kasha that Abaye asked himself. He has to explain why, according to him, that it's good. But these two lines, I didn't get how to read it. I don't know what those words mean. I just have to skip it meanwhile. But now the Gemara goes on to explain how Abaye is going to explain the brisa that Gamliel says if there was a get and then a mamar, a get and then a bia, or a mamar and then a bia, so that bia is also not kona, even though you could say that the first thing was kona. The way, let's have to explain the kasha now, that Abaye says that the mama which was first is surely kona, and the get which was first is surely kona, and the kasha is going to be, so how come the get is still takes effect? You even had a be afterwards and a get afterwards. What's the problem? The Gemara seems to answer. I don't see in the words. The Gemara seems to answer that even though the mama is kona, it's not mamish kona to push away the get. Like he said, mama and get, that one is a positive charge, one is a negative charge. They could balance each other out, but it's enough to puzzle the bia. The bia is called the bia psula. It's not the bia. The biggest bia is stronger than the mama, and even though the mama was kona, but the bia is stronger, and therefore the mama and the get that would have still been the get would have been able to take effect. And even though there was a bia, we're not going to say that the bia is as if it's not here, or that it is here, that it's not. It's we're not going to say that if the mama is not strong, so then the bia is a full bia. The bia is also called the bia psula, and therefore the get that came afterwards does have place to take effect because the bia is not as strong anymore. More or less, that's what the pshat might be. I don't see in the words too well. By bia psula, di from imama, gria mimama, the bia which was done after the mama is better than mama and less than mama. Di from imama, di mama, achamama lo mahani. That we said that mama not with a suffix, but because of vadai, the mama that was done first, that the mama after that doesn't take effect because she's already nikna. The first one was nikna already. Ilu bia achamama mahani. The bia is able, the bia to the second one is able to take effect more than the mama. The bia is stronger than the mama. But gria mimama, di mama achaget. Kani lekule shiur the get, vidu bia achar haget, lo kani lekule shiur the get. As far as the get and the bia, so the bia is I don't get the words over here. The idea I would think is to say that the case where the get was first and then the bia. We're not going to say that the bia is a full bia, that now the mama is not going to count anything. The bia is not strong after it was after a get. But I don't see that in the words too much, so I have to leave it, and that's as much as I was able to do into the Gemara. So, what the Gemara did do on this page so far was to explain two pshatim, either Rabba and Abaye has kasha and Rabba. What's the one that's Rabbi Gamliel when he says, "Ein mamar achamayma, ein get achaget," but yesh get achamayma and yesh mamar achaget. And then also he brought in another brisa which spoke about if there were three women and there was a mamar or a get, and then a bia, that bia also was not considered so strong anymore to be able to knock out that anything happens after that to the third woman, if there'll be a bia, if it would be a getter or a, if there was first a mimer, then a bia, then a get, or first a get, and then a bia, and then a mama. So the bia has been weakened by the whatever was acted upon before the bia, and it won't be enough to stop the effect of the act upon the third wife. Okay, the Gemara gets a little bit easier now. This is back to the simple pshat in the Mishnah. Tanu Rabbanan Ketzad Amar Gamliel Ein Ger Achaget. This is it's not the simple case of the Mishnah. What does it mean Ger Achaget? And we have the chart that there are two yevamos, and he gave a get to the first one, he gave a get to the second one. Two women of the same husband that husband died and they fell before Yavam. He gave both of them a get. Rabbi Gamliel says, "En genach haget." Cholis l'rishona, v'asa b'krova sel, muta b'krova shniya. That the second get is if it doesn't exist, and therefore you can't do yibum anymore because you gave a get. But give chalitza to the first one, and he's also to her relatives. But he remuted to the second's relatives because we don't look at the get as if it's anything. This is the case of en genach haget, that he says give chalitza to the first one, and the second one is not. Is that we ignore the get, and he'd be allowed to marry her relatives. And the Chachamim say, "Nasan get lazeh get lazeh also bekrova shteim v'chalitza lachas mehem." That the second get is as if it takes effect, and therefore he's also to both. He has to give a. He's also to both relatives. So give a chalitza to anyone. Let's make a difference which one, because he's also to anyone. Rabbi Gamliel says give a chalitza to the first one, in order he shouldn't be also to the relatives of the second one. But according to Rabbanan, you're also anyway to the relative of the second one. So give a chalitza to either one that you want. Whatever we spoke about, as we said yesterday, also that this whole thing talks about one yavam and two yevamos. So also, as we said on the bottom, that it also would be the same thing if there'd be one yavam and two yevamim. The same thing would apply also, that the get achaget, according to Rabbi Gamliel, the second one is nothing. According to Rabbanan, the second one is something, and it's as if he gave a get, and the second brother gave a get. He'd be also to marry those relatives also, not only the first brother, the second brother also. Back to the Gemara now. What's going to be the case of Rabbi Gamliel that he says the same thing that we learned in the Mishnah already. That stay yevamos shenachnu l'fnei Avim echad v'asa ma'amar b'zu ma'amar b'zu. Rabbi Gamliel lo menos get l'rishona v'chol etzla v'asa b'krov v'sel v'muta b'krov v'shniya. Again, that's the chart again that you have the ma'amar achamayim over here. So according to Rabbi Gamliel, the second get you don't need. So the first one, he gives a get to, and chalitza, and the second one, he'd be allowed to marry her relatives. The Rabbanan are going to say both of them need a get. He can marry either one of their relatives and chalitza to either one of them. The Chachamim Omrim, where is that? Second white line. No sin get l'shtein. Yes, both of them need a get because the second mimer also takes effect. Vasa b'krov l'shtein. He's not allowed to marry either one's relatives. Chalitza lachas mehem, whichever one you want. Same thing, that whatever we spoke about, one yavam and two yevamos, so two would be the same thing of two yevamim and one yevama. So that was a pashup shot. That's how we learned the Mishnah. That was easy. Amamar. This word is a mistake. When it says no saying, it should really be nasan. It's going on the case of nasan get lezu v'get lezu. It's not going on. We just said the words of no saying get l'shtein. This is a little confusing. This word is a mistake. It shouldn't be no saying. It should be nasan. Nasan get lezev v'get lezu. This is the case of en get achaget. Just to get it on the chart again, this makes it a little bit easier. Get lezu v'get lezu. Rabbi Gamliel says that he's only used to the relatives of the first one, and he gives chalitza to the first one, and he's allowed to marry the relatives of the second one. The Gemara is a kasha. How come he doesn't have to give chalitza to both of them? Now, usually you don't have to give chalitza to both of them. The din is give chalitza to one of the co-wives. That's all. But the Gemara brings now the Gemara we had a long time ago. Shmuel says that if there were two wives, two co-wives, and Yavam gave a get to one of them, so he has to do chalitza. Which one should do chalitza to? So what?
You usually say
either one. But Shmuel says that the chalitza that he's going to give to the balas get is called chalitza grua. It's called like a shvacha chalitza. The fact that he already took away by giving a get, even though the get is the same direction, the get is the same direction as the chalitza. Not a mamar, it's like a get, but it's considered chalitza grua, and therefore that chalitza is not going to be enough to also cover the co-wife. He has to give a chalitza to both. If he gave chalitza to the one that he gave a get, so the co-wife is not freed with that. She has to get chalitza also. If he gave chalitza to the tzara, then the balas get also could go. That was a strong. So that's the most kasha now. Let's look at let's see it in the case of the get achaget. what does Rabbi Gamliel say? The truth is, Rabbanan also say you give only one chalitza. But according to Rabbanan, they're both equal. Both of them are shvach, Rashi says. But according to Rabbi Gamliel, the second one's get is nothing. The second one's get and get a get. We ignore it. This get as if it's not here. So this Yevama got a get, and this one did not get a get. And what does Rabbi Gamliel say? Give chalitza to this one, and that's all. And the other one goes free. But that's the kasha. Shmuel says that if one of them got a get, yeah, the chalitza you give to her is not going to be enough. You have to give a chalitza to both of them. That's the kasha on Shmuel. Lema to have it to the Shmuel. Shmuel chalas abalas agadlan if there was so. And here Rabbi Gamliel saying that yes, it's enough to give a chalitza to the one who got a get, and the other one doesn't need anything. Amalach Shmuel kiyami ano I'll leave it to man dama yesh zika. Rabbi Gamliel savar ain't zika. I only say that because the zika is very strong. We had machlokas a couple of times. It has a lot of ramifications. If you hold yesh zika, ain't zika, how strong is that obligation to do marriage, to do yibum before they did yibum? The zika, how strong is zika? We had a lot of all kinds of ramifications about this machlokas. So Shmuel says, if I only hold yesh zika, then I say that the zika is very strong. And in order to break it, if it's only a chalitza grua, it wasn't a good. It was a chalitza done to somebody you got to get, and the zika to the other one is very strong. So then you have to get a chalitza for each one. But Rabbi Gamliel holds ein zika. It seems to be a machlokas tanam also. So therefore, Shmuel says I didn't mean a point then. If you hold ein zika, so then the whole zika is not so strong, and then the chalitza given to the balas aget is enough to cover the tzara also. Okay, he got out of the kasha. But the Gemara asks still, with Rabbi Gamliel savar ein zika, Rabbanan savri yesh zika. For some reason, the Gemara thinks the Gemara is right away going to knock it down, but the Gemara thinks that they're arguing also on yesh zika ein zika, even though they're arguing about the other machlokas here about mama achamama get achaget. The Gemara thinks they're also arguing on this point also. And if Rabbi Gamliel says ein zika, Rabbanan say yesh zika. And the Gemara is going to ask that according to Rabbanan, how come you don't say? How come you're saying that it's that? Now the Gemara should have asked l'chora. Okay, the Gemara. We'll see what the Gemara is going to ask. That we said in this case of all these cases of one yavam and two yavamos, we said that the end of the story was also by one yavam and two yavamim. Now what's going to be the din over here by which case is the Gemara going on? I don't understand the Gemara, why the Gemara is jumping from a new case. But here the case that the Gemara wants that according to Rabbanan, the Gemara could have just asked if the Rabbanan hold yesh zika, then how come you don't say over here that the second one also needs a chalitza? That's like the Gemara said. The Gemara said, how come second one doesn't need a chalitza? The Gemara answered because he holds ein zika. But if the Rabbanan hold yesh zika, so then he should. Rashi says that both of them are equal. But then the kasha of the Gemara here also, I don't understand why the Gemara is any better over here. But the Gemara is asking that the Rav says that if there are two brothers, there's two Yevamim, and Chalitza Psula means that there was a Chalitza Psula, there would be a case where he gave a get and then a Chalitza. So it's not enough. The same way Shmuel said that each wife has to get a Chalitza. So Rav said a similar thing that each brother has to give a Chalitza. Chalitza Psula tzarich les al kol achin. If one brother gave a get and then he gives Chalitza, so the other brother also has to give Chalitza in order to release his zika. And the Gemara thinks that you're saying the Rabbanan hold yesh zika. How come over here is enough according to Rabbanan? And they say over here that they only need one chalitza. In this case of one yevama and two yevamin, and there's a second woman over here that this will be a chalitza psula. And Rab will say that the other yavam also has to give chalitza. How come it's enough to give chalitza to one? One brother gives chalitza, the other brother also have to give chalitza. And this the Gemara is going to answer. He also says zika. It's a mistake to assume that since Rabbi Gamliel says ain't zika, the Rabbanan say yesh zika. The Rabbanan also ain't zika. That's not the argument. Both of them all ain't zika. And Rav and Shmuel, both of these halachos about chalitza to both women or chalitza from both men is only if you hold yesh zika. But if you hold ain't zika, there's no problem. And the machlokes here is only about gerach haget, mama chamayma, vacha begerach haget, and mama chamayma kamifligi. But everyone holds ain't zika. End of that Gemara. Now the Gemara answer kasha that came up a little bit when we were saying the Gemara. I'm sorry. That let's say the kasha outside, then see it inside. In this case, the first case here, Rav Gamliel, the contrary Rabbanan, the second Rambam takes effect, and therefore both of them need to get. According to Rav Gamliel, the second Rambam doesn't take effect, and only the first one needs to get chalitza, and the second one is not considered that anything was done to her, and she's released, and he's mutter and her relatives. So the Gemara is asking, we asked it as we was talking before, that if you say that if you're ignoring the second Maimar and only the first Maimar took effect, so then he should be allowed to do Yibum also. If I'm going to hold Zayn Maimar Chamaimar, so erase this as if it doesn't, as if it's not here. There's no Maimar over here. So he did Maimar. Okay, so let him do Yibum. The whole issue only comes up because he did Maimar to the second one also. But the Gamliel says Zayn Maimar Chamaimar. The second one doesn't count. So just like he did Maimar to the first Yivama, and now he goes to Bezdin and he says, my brother did I did Maimar to the second Yivama also. The Rav says that's nothing. Okay, so then what happened? I just did Maimar to one of the women. So let me marry her. And Rav Gamliel says no, that she needs a get and chalitza. Why should that be? That's the most kasha. Amamar, asa Maimar Bazu, Maimar Bazu, Rav Gamliel Omer nosin get lebishon of b'cholisla, v'asa b'krova sham, v'ata b'krova shnia. All that was the quote of the Brisa. What does Rav Gamliel say? If you had two Maimars, the first one counts, second one doesn't count. Give a get to the first one and chalitza, and the second one he wanted to marry her relatives because she doesn't need a get. But the kasha is mechti because Rav Gamliel ein Maimar Chamaimar, that there's no, the second one doesn't count. We showed the first one should we want even to do Yibum because there was no Maimar to the second one. The answer is really he should be allowed to. Since ein Maimar Chamaimar, he should be allowed to marry the first one also. But if he's going to marry the first one, he might think I'm allowed to marry whichever one I want, and therefore he'll marry the second one. That one surely he's not allowed to do because he gave Maimar to the first one. So therefore we say don't marry the first one either. To give a get and chalitza. That's the answer to that question. And now the rest of the Gemara today is going to say the same way we said in our Mishnah when Gamliel holds ein Maimar Chamaimar, which seems to say, but the Gemara had a question before, Abayin Rava. Does that mean that's a suffix? Does it mean that it's a vadai? The Gemara seems to be going, I don't know, I didn't see the Mefarshim here, but the Gemara seems to be saying that the reason why Gamliel says ein Maimar Chamaimar is because the first Maimar took effect. The first one was Kona. Rava said it's a suffix. Rava said, I'm not sure. If the first one is, the second one is already too late. The first one is taken already. If the first one is not, the second one is not. But Rabbi said that the first one is Kona with a vadai. I'm not sure if that's what the Gemara means, but it does fit easily that the Gemara is going to Abaye, that the first one is Kona Vadai. And the Gemara is going to bring another 4 Tanom that we find that the Maimar is Kona. There's a question about what does Maimar do? Maimar is only Rabbanan, it seems Maimar is only Rabbanan. And the question is how much does it affect? So the Gemara found Rabbi Gamliel in our Mishnah says that Maimar is Kona. And the Gemara is going to find the other Tanom also hold that Maimar is Kona. Where's the start here? Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Gamliel, Rabbi Shammai, Rabbi Shimon, Rabbi Nazai, Rabbi Nechemiah. Those are 5 Tanoim. Kulas Fiulu, Maimar Kona Kinyam Gomer. They all hold that Maimar is Kona completely. A lot of times you have in the Gemara when it says such a list, so it doesn't mean they all hold the same thing. It doesn't mean necessarily they all hold of each other's halachas. It just means that they're all in the same direction and they hold something like the Gemara says. Same thing about in Sukkah. The Gemara says, the famous Gemara, that they all hold that Diras Keva Bina, and they're not all the same. They're like 8 Tanam over there. It doesn't mean they're all the same. So here the Gemara says that I have 5 Tanam that seem to hold in the same direction at least, that Maimar is Kona Kinyan Gomor.
Kinyan Gomor does not mean Yevum.
Right, very important. That it doesn't mean that it's in place of Yibum and everything's fine, they're married. You're 100%, you're right. Right, true.
Then what does it mean, Kinyan Gomor?
So we're going to see 5 examples over here that you could take whichever one you want, and not necessarily that all of them hold the same thing. It doesn't have to have one definition. You're looking for a definition, which would be good, but it seems it's not one definition because everyone has a different idea in what aspect are we going to say that it's a Kona Kinyan Gomor. So any one of the following examples will be good enough.
Okay, for example, like that you might need a get.
Right, but everyone knows you need a get. That's not enough because everyone knows you need a get.
Oh.
There's nobody holds that Maimar doesn't need a get, so that's not enough. That would be called not a Kinyan Gomor, but the Kinyan Gomor is going to be something more. So the first one the Gemara says is Rabbi Gamliel Hadamoran. So that's this case. Rabbi Gamliel says Ein Maimar Chamaimar. Once you did a Maimar, the second Maimar doesn't take effect because the first Maimar was Kona already. This isn't so clear, L'chora, because the Gemara had another choice before that he's not sure. Maybe yes, maybe not. And if the first one is not, the second one is also not. Also, the Gemara said that the Yibum done, the Yibiyah done after the Maimar is not like it's a nothing. It's not like that the Maimar already took place and it's Kona Kinyan Gomor. So it just means in the way Abai explained that the first Maimar was Kona and the second one doesn't take effect because the first one took effect already. That's one case of Kona Kinyan Gomor. Beishamai, this we had already, the Tanan. 3 brothers, 2 of them married to 2 sisters, and the third one was not married. One of the brothers died, and the vacant brother was able to do yibum, but he didn't. He just did marmor so far. But before he had a chance to do yibum, and then the second brother died. So what is this? This single brother, the one who's a mufna. So he has now two of the wives of his two brothers falling to yibum. But that's called a chos kukasa. We'll take it simple without all the words. That's even the words. The case it is that two sisters from two brothers are falling to him, and really that the way it is a chos kukasa. That both of them, you can't take either one of them because both of them are zakuka, and each one is a sister of a zakuka. So you can't take either one of them. That's the standard halacha. But here, Beis Shammai says that he did have a chance to do maimar. Before the second one died, he did maimar to the first one. So Beis Shammai says, he hopped in. That fact that he did maimar is as if he married her. If he married her, so then he gets her. The other one is going to be a chos ishto, and he's allowed to take her. That's what Beis Shammai. Beis Hillel says that the consider chos kukasa. So the maimar is not enough to push away the sister. And they're both called the chos kukasa. So here's where you see a case that Beis Shammai says that the mamar took her in. Beis Shammai omrim ishto imo v'alezu tetzei mishum achos isha. Beis Shammai says that since he did mamar to one of them, that's considered his wife, and he's allowed to keep her, and he doesn't take the other one. The other one is a chos isha, and he doesn't have to. He can't take her, but he doesn't lose his wife. Over there, Beis Hillel says he loses both of them. Both of them, he loses the chosisha, also loses his wife because she's not mamash wife. It isn't that he did. He even would have done yibum, and then the other one died. Then he says, "I'm sorry, this is my wife," and the other one is a chosishta. But this is not. This is only a mufna. It's only a mama. So he still says not enough to push away the sister, but the zik of the sister. But according to Beis Shammai, the mufna was kona her, and he's allowed to keep her, and the other one is considered a chosishta. So you see, Beis Shammai says that mama is kona kinyan gamo. The third one, the third case, now we have still another three, Reb Shimon, Ben Nazai, and Reb Nechem. Reb Shimon the Tanya. I'm going to Reb Shimon, this we didn't have yet. It says on the side that this is how they vavam with beis. In Bias Rishon, Bias Sheni Eno Bia, in Bias Rishon Eno Bia, Bias Sheni Nami Eno Bia. That's a case where Rashi says it's talking about a Bias Bentes. That means that a 9-year-old boy, we have suggestions later on, from what age is it considered a Bia? And over there it says a 9-year-old is considered a Bia, but he's a katan. He's not a bar mitzvah. He's a katan. But his bia is already a bia. At the age 9, it's considered that he has matured physical organ, and that's considered a bia. So, but there's a question over there. So there was a case of a yibam over there. A man died without children, and his wife fell to the yibam. The yibam was a katan, two ktanim, and they had relations with her as if they did yibam. Two of the brothers. 2 9-year-olds, not Gedolim. So the question was, is the first one Kona, is the second one Kona? What happens over there? So I didn't see the Mishnah over there, Mishnah Gemara, but it says here, Rabbi Shimon says, in Bias Rishon Bia, Bia Sheni Eino Bia. If the first one was considered a Yibum, second one is not. In Bias Rishon Eino Bia, Bia Sheni Nam Eino Bia. If you say that the Bia of a 9-year-old is not considered, so then the second one is also not. Whatever he's talking about over there, but the Gemara says, for Bias Ben Tesha, the Gemara Shavi Rabbana. That the Gemara doesn't go into the details over here, but the Gemara says that level of a bia, of a katan, of a 9-year-old, is the same level of mama, whatever that means. Whatever reason the Gemara compares that they consider the same level. So if that's true, ain't a bia. The truth is that it's a little difficult, the same way we said before. Before we said, when you have mama and mama, do you really see Rabbi Gamliel holds that the first one is kona? Maybe it's just as much as the second, whatever it is, it's kona as much as the second one is. It's not mama, it's not mama shavaya. You don't see that he holds that as kona. It just means that both of them are the same, manushach. But here the Gemara does whatever the Gemara meant before by Rabbi Gamliel. So the Gemara means also by Rabbi Shimon. That the same thing that he says that after the first one, the second one doesn't take effect. So he says also by the Bias Bentes, which is the same level as Mama, that if the first one takes effect, the second one doesn't take effect. The Gemara looks at that as if the first one is Kona. And that's the Gemara says, I see that that Mama is Kona. The third one, the fourth one now, Benazai, the Tanya, Benazai Yoma, Yesh Mama Acha Mama, B'shnei Yevam and B'Yevam Achas, Ve'in Mama Acha Mama, B'shtei Yevam was B'Yevam Echad. So we the whole time said there's no difference. In these cases, we started off a few times, it says 1 Yavam and 2 Yavamas in all these cases. And then we said also the Mishnah ends off over there, the same thing would be by 1 Yavam and 2 Yavamin. Benazai says no. Benazai says that all this only applies by that by Ein Gerach, Ein Mama Acha Mama, he does agree by 1 Yavam and 2 Yavamos. Then he agrees Ein Mama Acha Mama. But by 1 Yavam and 2 Yavamin, over there not. But the Gemara just stressing the part that by 2 yevamos, he also agrees, same as Rav Shimon. So you see that the Mamre is strong in Kona. That's what the Gemara seems to say, that Yesh Mamre Chamayma v'shnei yevamim. If it will be 2 yevamin and 1 yevama against our Mishnah, he says Yesh Mamre Chamayma. But when it's 2 yevamos, so then he holds like Rabbi Gamliel, Ein Mamre Chamayma. So that for that the Gemara is enough to say that Mamre is Kona Kinyan Gomer, the same as Rabbi Gamliel. Can't say that I understand it. And the last one is Rabbi Nechemi, that not Rabbi Nechemi Omer. This is our Mishnah. Achas bila v'achas chalitza, ben v'tchila, ben emsa, ben v'sof, ben achper klum. That he says that the Rabbanan said that bi psula yesh achper klum, but Rabbi Nechemi said that bi psula ein achper klum. Just like chalitza ein achper klum, chalitza psula also bi psula. The bi psula the kamama shav Rabbanan v'katani ein achper klum. So again, you have to take the Gemara's word for it. Same way the Gemara said before that bias pentes is like mama. Here the Gemara says also that a psula is also the same level of mamra. I don't know that you have to know more Gemaras to see how the Gemara knows how to equate these things. And if you say that Einach Klum, so you see that's Kona Kinyan Gomer. So I just read the Gemara. I hope that everybody got whatever they could get out of that. I don't have clarity, but we're trying. Yes, everybody. Thank you. We'll be back in a few minutes for Pirkei Avos.